What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to the Acura Audio Garage. Today we have a 2018 Acura ILX, and we're going to be changing the front speakers. So that's going to be the woofer and the tweeter in the door. All these speakers are going to be 4 ohms. This is the base ILX, so no tech package. And as you can see, we have our standard Honda speaker. This is a 4 ohm speaker, and then our 4 ohm tweeter. We're going to be throwing in these JBL Stage 3 607Cs, and then of course we have our speaker adapter, and our speaker spacer adapter. Then we have our tweeter harness to replace our tweeters, and then our speaker harness to replace the speaker. I'm going to show you how to get the door panel off. It's not really all that complicated, just one clip's a little tricky, and then we'll go into securing the speakers, wiring them, and everything. It should be a pretty fast video, but just as always, I'm going to ask that you like the video, subscribe. We always have content for your Acura, so make sure you stay tuned. Alright guys, so the speakers we're using again are the Stage 3 607C, and they're advertised as 3 ohm speakers, but they're going to work fine for our application. We might actually get a little bit more volume out of the factory amp with these speakers. As you can see, we have multiple components here. We have the actual woofer, a crossover, and a tweeter. I just want to show you what's in the box quick. So open one of the sides, pull out the components, and see it separates into 2 boxes. So there are our crossovers. We have the factory signal coming into these terminals, and then we have a tweeter and a woofer out. Here are our actual tweeters, and then here are the mounting mechanisms for those tweeters, along with some hardware to mount them. Then we have our actual speakers. So in here we have our speaker grill and our woofer. There are no adapters included in this kit. It's just what you see here. I'm going to take this speaker out. So there you see the grill with the JBL logo. We're gonna pop this grill off, and then here's our woofer. Pretty nice woofer, a lot bigger magnet than the factory, as you can see. And this woofer meets the factory specifications nicely with the right frequency response, the right power handling, and then of course it's a component system just like the factory. All right, guys, to get this door panel off, it's rather simple. You're going to remove this cover right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab a tool, and there's a little gap down there. You can stick in there, pop this up. Then you're going to grab that same tool and lift this up towards you. That'll reveal 1 screw, and then there are 2 screws here. Then we're going to pop this up, disconnect it, and then we'll just pull from the bottom and remove the door panel. For the tweeter, it's actually very simple. You just get a plastic pry tool and pop towards you, and I'll show you that all in a second. Alright guys, so to pop that piece off, you're going to stick your pry tool in there, and what you're doing is you're actually pushing this tab up, and once you do, it'll be able to release, and then it has a hook on the top. So don't just pull and pull. You want to release that tab, and then you'll be able to get this little door off, and that's going to reveal again 2 screws, one here, one there, and then we have the other screw here, and those 3 screws should be it. Now, just for making things easier for ourselves, we're just going to pop this up. Alright guys, so to remove this panel, you're going to pry from the back. It'll start to lift up on the back side. Then you're going to pry on the front, and then that should fully release it. And then you have a couple connectors you have to deal with. One has a special kind of pull tab, and then the other one has just a regular push tab. So I'm going to show you those up close once I get this off. Alright guys, so the push tab is just this little tab here on the back. My thumb is, you're just going to push down on it pretty hard, pull down. This is the connector. It's a little more tricky. Here you have a tab that sits inside of the connector, so once it's in, it's hard to take out. So basically this little gap right here, this little tab where my index finger is going, you're going to push that down and then pull back, and that's what's going to release this connector from the control switch. Right now we got our everything disconnected. The only thing you have to look out for is the hood latch, not the hood latch, the latch cables for the door handle. This also has a tab that you should pull or push out so that the cable will be free from the door panel, and then those two cables there. So I'm gonna get those two off, and then I'll show you the trick for the door handle cable that's a little tricky to get off. So we released that clip I was telling you about. Now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna start pulling from the bottom to get the door panel off. Alright guys, so getting the door panel off, I don't remember if I remembered to film me taking off the screws, but there's a screw here and then the two screws there that I showed you earlier. Then to remove these cables can be very tricky. So this is your standard cable. I'm sure you've seen if you take your speakers off before. It's going to have a clip on top of it, and it's going to be clipped here. This one's a trickier one, which you may have not seen before. It actually has two tabs on the bottom. So all you're going to do is you're going to take a pry tool or a flathead screwdriver and try to jimmy it in here in the plastic so you can lift it up. And I'll show you the door panel where those two things go. So on the door panel, when these are hooked, so the first thing you're going to release is this. You're going to unhook it and push it up. This one you're going to unhook it and push it down, and these are the positions where it's free. Then for the standard L clip, this will be clipped onto it. You'll unclip it, lift up. The other clip, the white clip, sits in here, so you want to stick the pry tool right here and lift up, and I'll release it. And then just be careful when you're pulling them out not to snap the plastic connector that sits here. And then as always, you want to make sure that your door clips, or whatever you want to call them, are on your door panel so that it snaps back into place. So that's it for removing the door panel. The next part is removing the speaker, and it's actually just going to take one screw, and then what you're going to do is you're going to pull towards you a little bit and up. So we'll take this screw out. Then they use a nice gasket to seal it to the door, so just a little flathead screwdriver on one of the edges will release it. And then, like I said, you're gonna now pull away from you and then up. That releases the speaker, and we have some extra speaker wire here. We have some subs installed in this car, so that's where it's running from. So don't get confused, you won't have this wire, just this one. So now to release the speaker, you're just gonna pinch these two together and pull up towards you. So here is our factory speaker. As you can see, it doesn't have any labels on the information of the speaker. You do get a part number here, and then also another part number here, or identifier. And on the side, on the top, you get another identifier. So this factory speaker, we use our spacer, our speaker harness, and our tweeter harness to replace. So we're gonna get that ready now. We're gonna mount our new speaker. So our new speaker is gonna mount to these holes right here around the edge, and then we'll plug it in, and then we'll take care of the tweeter next. To install our speaker, we're first going to hook up our wire harness. Just ignore that harness, that's for the subwoofer. Then we're going to slide our spacer into place and then snap it into the location for the screw, and then we're going to mount our screw. So you're going to use the same screw that came from the factory, and you're also going to make sure that this screw sits flush. The reason you want that is because the speaker is going to go on top of this adapter, so you don't want it have any peaks or anything where it's not going to sit flat. So there you go, it's nice and flush. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our speaker. Now we're going to take our speaker and we're going to hook up our positive and negative and then mount it to the door. So after we've hooked up our speaker, we're just tightening our screws. Be careful, you don't want to over tighten it. If you're using a screw gun, it's very easy to just destroy these holes, so I recommend a hand screwdriver. And now that they're all tight. We're just going to test our speaker. I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like. After we verify that this is working, we're going to jump onto our tweeter installation. Alright guys, to replace the tweeter, we have a nice little sail panel to work with. So what we're going to start doing is we're just going to take a little pick tool, and we're going to take our pick tool and we're going to free the factory tweeter, so we won't damage it. There's a clip here, another clip here, and another clip here that are holding it on. I'm just going to stick my pry tool on the side and kind of do that movement till I get them loose. So as you can see, I got it loose, and here are the 3 little clips I'm talking about. So there's these little outdents or nipples on the tweeter, and they go into these little grooves here. So if you stick your pry tool in there and just kind of turn it to free it, you'll get, once you get 2 of them, it's enough to get it loose. And you can see this is a 4 ohm tweeter. So our new tweeter without any housing is too small to really lock in here with anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a housing on it and then use our plastic welder to leave it in place. You could use hot glue, super glue, Velcro. Even if you put Velcro on the side here and then Velcro in the inside, this will hold in place and it won't rattle or come loose on you. I think that's the easiest way for a DIYer to do this. If you are a professional shop or if you have a plastic welder, then you can just use the plastic welder like we are. So I'm going to prepare this and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright guys, so here's the tweeter all prepared. As you can see, there's little metal rods, and basically the plastic welder will take those little metal rods, heat them on, and then you cut them off, and that will hold our tweeter. It's not going anywhere. So that's what we're going to use along with our tweeter. That's what we're going to use along with our tweeter harness. So we'll plug this up. We'll be able to plug this right into the car and make our tweeter installation real easy. Alright, so our tweeter is ready to go. We got to install our door panel before we can install it. So I'm going to just pop that door panel back on and then we'll talk about the tweeter. When you're installing the door panel, you want to be careful not to hit your speaker with the door panel. So you just want to make sure you align it carefully, and then don't forget to run your plugs into the door panel. Otherwise you're going to have a bad time when you close it up and you can't get to the connector. Alright guys, so here we are. We have our door panel back on. Our connectors are through. All our screw holes line up, and then our tweeter is ready to be installed. So I'm going to put all our stuff back and then we'll go to the tweeter installation. Alright guys, so now everything's back. Our screws are back. We just haven't put our door yet. And then this screw is back. You can see our switch is back. When you go to install your tweeter, we're not using the crossover here, so this is very important. Our tweeter harness for this set of speakers can handle working as a base blocker / crossover network for this set of speakers. I can't say that for every single set of speakers, but the crossovers that come with these JBL speakers aren't the best. So our base blocking capacitor acts the same as the crossover will. And in our factory system, the factory woofer isn't playing lower than, let's call it 60 hertz at a high level. So our woofers are safe too. They all play to their cutoff frequency, whatever that is built into the woofer, 8,000 hertz, 10,000 hertz, etc. So both of our speakers are safe, and this removes the need to install the crossover. If you're going to do a lot of power, or if you're going to use a different head unit than the factory, then this probably won't be the recommended way, because the crossover, without that crossover, if you're sending low signals to this woofer, you could damage it if you're making it play 30 hertz, 20 hertz, etc. And then your tweeter, the base blocking capacitor here is good up to 50 watts RMS. If you're doing more power than that, you'll blow this capacitor and it won't serve any purpose for protecting this tweeter. So when we're installing our tweeter, we're just going to plug it in. So you'll hear a nice little click once it's in. And then we're just going to place the extra wire in this cavity here and put our tweeter back into its location. It just has 2 clips, so you want to make sure both of those clip. Alright guys, there you go. So our tweeter is in. If you look really deep in there, you can see the exclamation mark from the JBL logo, and it looks good as new, like we never touched it. Now I'm just going to give you guys a little sound demo. Alright guys, so here we are inside the ILX. Remember, this is a base, no tech package, so no factory subwoofer. He has his own subs installed, but this is the factory system. I can't play the music too long. YouTube will copyright the video, etc. What I do want to mention about this install is these speakers are 3 ohms when they're combined, how they are right now, to whatever amp they're on. So it's a 3 ohm load to the factory amp, factory radio. So you don't have to worry about it damaging the factory amp or the speakers not being compatible. There are 4 ohm speakers in here, so you can just use regular 4 ohm speakers. We could have done Pioneers, we could have done really any speaker that you want. Since it's a 4 ohm system, they just have to be component speakers. Just our JBL kit is very popular for the Acuras. You're going to get a little bit more volume out of them compared to if you were to do Pioneers, just because the resistance of the voice coil is lower. The other thing, component speakers, you need to make sure you use a crossover. Our bass blocking tweeter harness is a last ditch effort to protect your tweeter. The Acuras is designed from that way from the factory. They just use a bass blocking tweeter. So basically we applied the same thing they did, but it should be a last ditch effort. These tweeters aren't going to blow. The factory system isn't going to put out enough power to blow them. But if you were doing high power or a different receiver, then you want to go and install your crossover. If you don't install the crossover, it's very easy to kill your tweeters and your woofers as well. So make sure you install that crossover if you're doing high power. If you're doing the exact same thing we're doing here, so you have an Acura, you have the factory radio, factory amplifier, you're just replacing the speakers because you want, maybe a little louder volume, better bass response, then this is a perfectly good guide to follow. You're not going to blow the tweeters, you're not going to blow the speakers. Those JBLs are going to work really well. They're going to handle up to 50 watts. So highly recommended upgrade. Car sounds a lot better, crisper. I can't say that it was louder than before. That would be up to the customer, but we'll get his words in just a few minutes. Something I wish would have worked out, we have the subwoofer adapter, subwoofer upgrade package for the ILX, the TLX, TSX, and TL from 09 to like 16. But we weren't able to test it. We haven't been able to test it inside a vehicle yet. So we thought we'd be able to test it in this vehicle, but it turns out it doesn't have it. So you learn something new every day. Gonna wrap up this video. So we did the front speakers on the Acura ILX. I hope you enjoyed it. Try to keep it quick and fast. Here again are the speakers we use. If you're looking for any of this stuff, you can find it on our website. Again, I really appreciate you watching, and make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned. We have more Acura content always coming. We actually have the subwoofer adapter for this vehicle along with the subwoofer package. We don't yet have it available to everyone because we haven't been able to test it. We thought we'd be able to test it in this vehicle, but we're on to the next one. So make sure you stay tuned.